Southwest Topeka has a good neighbor. State Farm agent Jim Garrison, now at 29th and Urish. If your current insurance situation has you going around in circles, get off the roundabout and stop in and meet Jim and his wonderfully efficient staff. Let Jim Garrison give you a quote and make the Garrison comparison. He's confident that with State Farm's competitive rates, the right coverage, and his unmatched service, you'll want to make him your new insurance agent. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and Jim Garrison is there for you, northeast of the roundabout at 29th and Urish.
When someone has a passion for what they do, it comes through in the product they provide their customers. Just ask LaRocco's Pizza's new owner, Jason Johnson, about their crust. They make it every day and let it rise for a minimum of 24 hours before they use it for their pizza. And his staff doesn't want to do anything they won't be the best at, and you can taste it in their pizza. LaRocco's Pizza, just a half block north of the I-470 and Gage Boulevard exit. Come taste the difference.
It's time for Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Preferred Advisors.
Good Saturday morning to you. This is Carrie Brown, Associate Broker with eXp Realty and the Preferred Advisors team, and you're listening to Real Estate 101. I am back today with my co-host, a.k.a. my husband, Troy Brown, Brown's Tree Service. How are you this morning, Mr. Troy?
I'm doing great.
So we just made a mad dash back from Iowa. You guys are doing some disaster relief up there.
Disaster. They're expecting it to be a disaster come Monday, federal disaster. So FEMA should be assisting there come Monday.
It's really pretty crazy looking because it does look just like a hurricane, that you see on the coast, but it's inland. What the heck happened?
Yeah, straight line winds, 100-mile-an-hour plus, and they didn't let up. Sometimes you just get a gust, but in straight line winds, they don't let up, so they do a lot of damage. And it looks like the area was probably really overgrown, which makes it worse. That's why you help trim your trees, maintain, trim them, prune them. It helps reduce that when you do get that kind of wind. It helps reduce the damage a lot. That's why you're really one of the reasons you should maintain your trees properly.
It's pretty crazy. They're just not getting a lot of the power back up over there.
No, they don't have a lot. They got 30% back up.
Really?
Yeah.
So, we lucked out. We did find hotels in neighboring towns that had some power, and a couple of the hotels were getting power back up nearer. But it's kind of crazy because one hotel was blocking the other hotel, it looked like, and the first one lost all its shingles and tore the mess out of it, and the next one looked fine.
Yep.
We should probably talk about what I told everybody we would talk about today.
Which was?
Commercial clearing. You guys do commercial clearing. Let's talk about that fancy new machine you guys got.
Yes, we have one on the Takahauchi, a big mulching head that will productively eat up 10 to 12-inch trees and smaller. We can just chew them up and mulch them out and spread the mulch out right there on the land. So if you got, not just commercially, but residentially, you got honeysuckle, a big patch of honeysuckle you want to get rid of, we can go in there and mow it over so you can regain your property. Cedar trees, it loves cedar trees. It just chews them up, spits them out. So maybe you got, like my little dream place is where we can go in there and cut you in trails and food plots into your cedars where you don't want to log on. Maybe you just want a trail cut through there and an opening made open, and we can do that too. So,
can you tell he's done that at our house? We have land just so we can feed deer.
Well, they feed us.
This is true. I guess it's reciprocal. Just only one person's volunteering for that. All right. So you guys also did work to clean up down by the river too, correct?
Yes, the big project going in. We went in with the mulching head down there and cleared that out for commercially so he can get in there and start doing it. And we got another one of those coming up here soon. So environmental stuff, we're helping. A company from out of town ended up getting that job, but we're involved with the beginning parts of it. We got another one, should be started real soon. So things are busy.
Yes, they are. So
that's why I'm going to mention we're hiring again still.
Still very much hiring.
In town and out of town work.
Let's talk really quick about the benefits.
Benefits, 401k, 100% health insurance, vacation, holiday pay. So we take good care of them.
So if you know somebody who's looking for a job, obviously you got to pass a drug test. That's
and a background
important.
check.
And a background check. Be sure and spread the word. We need help. We've got crews in Iowa now and here. And still looking at possible hurricanes, that may come landing into the coastal areas.
So. Yep.
Yeah. Which this is usually about the time we start talking about going on vacations, and that's when it all hits. It's almost like we bring them in when we go on vacation.
Well, just because you like to vacation that time of year.
Probably. Yeah. So then, the latter part of our vacation, he's antsy and jumping around like a kid. Like, I gotta go. And I'm like, relax. It'll be there when we get home. That, and we also, whenever we try to go during the wintertime, we always try to go really warm, tropical places, but we always end up having to buy a sweatshirt. It's like we just brought the cold with us. It's some sort of jinx we got going on.
Oh, well, you're from Kansas. You'll be all right.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how hurricane season works and when did they bring in people like you?
Well, I mean, as soon as they hit the first 72 hours, they need emergency crews to start opening up streets and driveway sidewalks and trying to just get the main fairways open so when people start coming back that have been evacuated, they can get to their homes. That's the biggest goal in the first 72 hours. And then they stop and they evaluate the situation where they're at, whether it's a pre-positioned bid, a contractor pre-position's already been in there, and they're getting set up and start bringing more crews in to start hauling and cutting. And the power companies are first, of course, so you kind of got to give them a little bit of time to start getting some power back in there. And usually a week to 10 days, average about 10 days, they get most of the power back on after a big storm.
So we heard on the radio on the way home where they compared Iowa to Katrina. Would you say that's accurate?
I would not. I mean, I've seen Katrina. Katrina was a monster. It was a monster on its own. It was really destructive. So it was bad for that area. For something like that, that's a good case of a good Hurricane 1 or 2 is what that compares to, what they're looking at. So it's devastating when you see something like that for the first time, if you've never really seen one right after it hits.
And I would imagine being so landlocked that they've never seen anything like that.
No.
So, yeah, to them that might have felt like it, but
It probably did. It probably feels that way to them. It's
Yeah.
like, this is what Katrina felt like. Well,
not exactly.
not exactly.
Yeah, Katrina was ugly. But definitely, it just kind of gives you that feeling of, that could have happened to us too.
It could happen anywhere. We've
Yeah.
seen 100-mile-an-hour winds here, just that wide. One of the locals told me that it was 30 miles wide, the winds. So usually when we get 100-mile-an-hour winds here, it'll hit like one little neighborhood or one little area gets it real bad, south side of town or east side of town, and then it's gone. But that whole city is wiped out. So it came in 30 miles wide and just stayed that way all the way across the city. So it was bad.
Yeah, a lot of roof damage. We were driving past some areas, and trees were literally root ball and all just up in the air. It was just crazy to see, the whole thing. I mean, it took the entire structure of that tree, and it just flopped it over like it was nothing.
It happens a lot.
And they were big.
Yep, we'll be up there next week starting to help the residents out. We're doing more. Right now, we're doing more residential and helping the people out on this one than we are the commercial side of it. So we'll see how it works. I usually do the commercial side of it, but I think this one we're going to end up doing the residential side, and we'll see how it works out for us.
Well, I'm sure that they're going to appreciate that.
Yep, they need some help up there on the residential side pretty bad. So
Yeah, you guys are starting with some apartment complexes.
Yep.
And, that's a lot of people with trees down all over the place. So what does Brown's Tree Service have going on here locally?
Locally, again, we're still moving into the fall's coming in soon, believe it or not. The iron and the oak trees we're going to start doing here in another month or so, couple months maybe. We're still finishing up the elms, injecting the elm trees and the ash trees for the summertime. Is what we're finishing up. Bagworms are pretty much done. You'll still see a straggler here and there, but they're dead, so there's no sense in really spraying them anymore. Other than that, we still got 3 crews going here, maintaining, trying to keep up with our workload. So we're busy.
And we're hiring.
And we're hiring.
I was going to tell you real quick about a friend of mine just opened up a Capital City duct cleaning service. We noticed recently in trying to get some done that everybody was so backed up these guys are doing a really in-depth cleaning. It's called Capital City Duct Cleaning, and they give free estimates. I know with the allergy season going full blast that maybe home needs to be cleaned up a little bit, and the ducts are a good place to start.
So why do you clean your ducts? Are they clean up their quacker, or
the air ducts in your house, honey. We had it done whenever our son moved into his house, and because there had been some mold in the basement, and we wanted to make sure that we had treated everything and got all that done. And they had these little bitty dogs that had these little bitty balls, and the basement, we had gutted it. So whenever they blew it out into the basement and then cleaned up the basement. There were little bitty balls everywhere that had just been hanging out in their ductwork. So you just never know. If you've got kids, you might have all kinds of things in your ducts.
I'm sure you do.
Speaking of which, we should probably get ours done now that ours are all grown. Not much telling what we'll find.
Dirty laundry.
Probably. Those Tupperware dishes you never could find.
The dishes are good to find.
Forks.
I get all the dishes.
Forks in our house disappear. We swear that the kids just don't want to do them, so they throw them away. We have spoons. I wish they would just sell forks. We have spoons, knives for days, and like 5 forks.
I think they get thrown away.
I think they do too. So, if somebody is wanting to talk to you guys about employment, where should they call? Where should they go?
785-379-9212 or BrownstreeServiceLC.com is the website. You can kind of fill out a deal there, and just it emails us to us so we can get it. Call you back when you're ready, and that's the best way. And we're looking for experienced guys. CDLs is something we need shortage of everywhere. So if you got a CDL, that's a big plus. Climbers, bucket truck, knuckle boom operators, groundsmen. So we need all levels, really.
And if you're willing to travel and they go to Iowa or they go to a hurricane, if that should happen, what is that like? What can they expect?
If you went out of town, we're working 10, 12-hour days, 7 days a week. So you get lots of overtime. We're giving you meal allowance for the day and take care of your hotel. So we put you up and then give you a little bit of extra money to help offset the cost for being out of town. So
it's definitely not a job where you're going to sit on your hands and not get anything done. As a matter of fact, the guys will give you a really hard time if that's what you think you're coming in on. So don't go if you're lazy, because you're going to work.
Yeah, it's we stay busy. When you're out of town, there ain't nothing to do, so you might as well be working.
Absolutely, because sometimes you don't even have power. So just in case you guys didn't catch one of the previous shows, you guys have dirt too, right?
Topsoil.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Inappropriate term. Topsoil.
Yes, we sell topsoil. We screen it. We started doing that this year, and we keep it in the building. So if we can keep up with it when Mother Nature's been beating on us as bad as it has everybody else, but we keep it inside a Quonset hut, so it's usually dry. You come out, you can pick it up in your truck or call us for a bigger load. We can deliver it to you. And we're selling mulch. We screen those fines out of the mulch, or you can get it with the fines in it. Next year, we should be selling colored mulch. We hope to be. We're still in the process of putting all that together, but we're going to start doing the colored mulch next year. So we'll have a variety for you to choose from. And it's 2900 Button Road. Give us a call at 379-9212. It was about the best way. I wouldn't really use the website out so much for that, but we can deliver it to you. You can come get it. You can send your kids for it.
As long as they can drive legally. You can also do it without having to actually enter the building if you're concerned. So everything can be done via phone. Yeah,
you can pay with a credit card, and we can just deliver it to you. Or when you show up and you just give them a ticket number or something like that, we can work through it. If COVID's a concern for you, you can just pay with a credit card, and you can stay in your vehicle.
Yep. And I know with a lot of the rains, a lot of people found where they were getting water in their basements. And one of the big things, and I am not a foundation expert, I've just been to a whole lot of foundation inspections over 17 years. Having dirt at a correct grade around your foundation, having your gutters out further away from your property, and making sure that they're not turning around and pointing right back to your property. Those are huge, keeping those gutters clean, but definitely dirt, making sure that it's not pointed towards your house, because if it is, it's just an invitation for water.
It has nowhere to drain, so it drains downwards and in.
Yep. So, and that will cause wall movement over time. So definitely it's super, super important. And it's so simple because people think foundations, well, it must be something major. And as long as you take care of those things, it's often not. But if you do, it will become major over time. So we're going to take a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back to talk more about trees.
It's the season for brand new mulch, and Brown's Tree Service has got your yard covered. Brown's Tree Service utilizes hardwood mulch that retains more moisture. Not only does mulch make your yard more appealing, it also reduces weeds, improves soil, and creates insulation for plants. Get the right mulch for your job at Brown's Tree Service. They shred it, haul it, and spread it in bulk. Or you can haul it yourself for the personal touch to your property. Call Brown's Tree Service at 785-379-9212 or visit online at brownstreeservicelc.com.
When someone has a passion for what they do, it comes through in the product they provide their customers. Just ask LaRocco's Pizza's new owner, Jason Johnson, about their crust. They make it every day and let it rise for a minimum of 24 hours before they use it for their pizza. And his staff doesn't want to do anything they won't be the best at, and you can taste it in their pizza. LaRocco's Pizza, just a half block north of the I-470 and Gage Boulevard exit. Come taste the difference.
At SportsMomsUnited.com, we celebrate every athlete and support every sports mom. SportsMomsUnited.com is on a mission to put logic back in youth sports. When you ask young athletes why they play sports, their number one answer is fun. For them, that means being on a team, making new friends, having a good time, all of which are awesome memories. We add to the memories by featuring an athlete of the day and sharing their story. Nominate an athlete today at www.sportsmomsunited.com.
Thanks for joining us again. This is Carrie Brown, Associate Broker with eXp Realty and the Preferred Advisors team, and you're listening to Real Estate 101. So let's talk about, in case there is a storm, because obviously we're still Tornado Alley and all kinds of good stuff like that, high winds. What is the process if you should receive damage like that?
Insurance-wise, I mean, you need to get a hold of your agent right away. A lot of them we've seen through the years, as long as you got good pictures, you can go ahead and call us. We can get started on it. If you got a big tree on your house and you got a gaping hole in your roof, I mean, my eyes, you take pictures and then call your agent, just do all that. They usually say just get it done. Sometimes they'll tell you to get 2 or 3 bids, but everybody's policy is a little different, I've noticed through the years. So you really, I mean, if it's something you got mature trees, maybe if you want to be prepared, go ahead and find your homeowner's insurance and preview it. So what does it tell you that you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do and what it'll pay? And so you might want to adjust it for your particular property. Years ago, I seen one that it was a bad deal, but they didn't have a lot of money and they lost a very large tree that squashed their house. And that particular policy only paid $750 total for tree damage.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, I mean, some policies, so if you got mature trees, it's not a bad idea to review that part of your policy, just to make sure you're insured properly.
I know that one of our sponsors, Jim Garrison with State Farm, he is really good about going over policies with you. There are even sewer line policies now, because we see that a lot in real estate where sewer lines have to be replaced, and it will help with the coverage of that. So definitely, and it's not an expensive monthly policy, especially given how much it does cost to actually replace them. So acts of God are definitely something you're going to want to look up to make sure that you're covered adequately.
Yeah, that's one. I mean, you might not have any trees, but if your neighbor's got one and it lands on your house, it's your tree. So the other thing, I mean, look at it the other way too. If you look at your policy and maybe it's charging you extra for that kind of coverage and all you got is 3 little sticks in your yard 3 feet tall, you really don't need that part of that policy at that time.
As long as your neighbors don't have really big ones.
As long as your neighbors. So you just get everybody's a little bit different. So...
Yeah, we had an insurance agent here locally, she's no longer here, that would give new homeowners these really, really crazy rates, low rates. And what we found was that the policies weren't that great.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really important. If it sounds like a good deal, it's usually not. So look at your policies, make sure. Just because somebody's higher doesn't mean that they're trying to gouge you. It may just mean that they're trying to give you adequate coverage.
Adequate coverage. I mean, you got to really look at your property, in my eyes. What do I need insured the most? Is it stuff inside? Is it the roof? Is it, the trees? If you got 100-year-old trees, I mean, you want to look at that kind of policy.
Absolutely. Especially if you were a new homeowner in the last couple of years and you got this crazy low quoted rate and that's what you took, please go look at your policy because that's what we were finding.
Yeah, it's boring reading, but
it is insanely boring reading.
That's why you give it to Carrie.
No, well, I'll look at it. But Jim
I was talking about
Garrison's
mine.
yeah, Jim Garrison's a great guy. Call him. Yeah, it's definitely something you want to know, especially looking around and seeing that kind of disaster. I can't imagine finding out then that your coverage is terrible.
Look how many trees had landed on cars.
Yeah.
I mean, it was everywhere. What kind of damage? I've seen people lose total car and no coverage for it.
Yeah.
The homeowners don't take it. The auto insurance, so you got to make sure which one of them take it. And I seen it. I believe there was a case a few years ago that neither one of them claimed it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's a bad situation, but it's something you really got to insurance. It's something it's a big thing to really review right and make sure you're done right.
Absolutely. On both accounts, we just recently, our son was looking at buying a vehicle and looking at policies, and we were figuring out why one was so much less than the other because it didn't cover quite a bit of stuff. And it's like, you're paying the higher rate.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, you got to be covered properly, but you don't want to.
Yeah.
Over-covering is a problem, too. There is that. It goes the other way, too. You can over-cover something. So.
Yeah, but definitely under is never a good thing. Let's talk about the types of trees that are easier to break.
Well,
all of them at 100-mile-an-hour wind, but
well, not necessarily. I mean, if it's kind of like this, we tell people they call us 30 years after they plant a tree, and then trees they say fix it. Well, call us when you plant the tree because trees should be pruned at a young age to start making them a stronger structure. So you get rid of the weak crotches, including bark crotches. You can start shaping them, get to a central leader, so you don't have multi-stem leader trees. So the best thing is to start taking care of those early. But if you just bought a house and got one of these problem children, we can prune them, lighten them up, we get some weight off them, make them a little safer. We can't guarantee it, but we can go in there and do some pruning to make sure it's the best structurally sound we can make it for what it is. You get a multi-stem trunk; those are typically ones that'll fall apart. Cottonwoods, those usually just uproot. Those are the ones a lot of times in a big storm you'll see uproot more than they do snap. The root system's real shallow on them, so they'll just, if they're in a real wet area, they'll just flop over. That's what happens in a lot of big storms, that root systems, maybe you put a driveway in there and you ain't got no root systems out there, or it's had some kind of rot and decay in the bottom, then that's where it'll give. So you're really only as strong as your weakest point. So if that happens to be 15 feet up where you got that big rotten hole, that's typically where it'll break. If it's just a weak crotch, which are typically the V crotches or your weaker crotches, a lot of people think that's the stronger ones, but if it comes out there to 90, that's a good limb structure. If it comes out there with a V, it's that's where it's going to split and fall apart. So if you got some of those, give us a call. We can come out and see if we can do some pruning to make it a little safer.
definitely
silver maples a lot of times got those kind of crotches in them, and they're not great trees, but there's a lot of mature silver maples in town. The oak trees usually last a little better. They got a better structure to them, natural structure to them, so they do better.
So if you had to pick a tree to put in our yard that you knew would withstand more than others, what would that tree be?
Well, probably the sawtooth oak that we planted. But again, that's what are you after? Do you want that 100-foot tall oak tree, or do you want something 50 feet tall? Do you want it in 15 years, or are you willing to wait 30 years? So that's the difference in the trees. Is placement is everything. It really just not one tree for everybody. There's not one tree for every yard. It's placement, and has a lot to do with personality and placement.
Sounds like picking a spouse.
Yeah, well, trees was easier.
There is that. All right, so if you're doing new construction and say you happen to get a lot that has some pretty nice sized trees, I know when we were putting in landscaping, you kept telling me I've got to watch how much I drive over these roots and stuff. Explain that. That's
compaction. A lot of time in constructions, we see it a lot. People buy a property and they say, I don't want those trees. I want to save those trees. So the contractor, this is the part that'll make some of them a little mad, but they just go in there and they don't take the trees down. They build the house, but they compact the soil. They park their equipment on it. They they store all their construction material on it. They compact the soil. When you compact the soil, you're no longer getting proper airflow to your roots. Your roots need air, water, drainage, so then it's not soaking in. It's just running off right there. So compaction squashes the roots. It damages the root system, and therefore in about 3 to 5 years after you move in, you're calling me, my tree died. I said, well, it didn't survive construction. So if you're looking into, again, call us on the land clearing part. When you buy that property, we can come in there and help you pick which trees to save. We can work with you on that. We can mow the rest off or work with a contractor. At bare minimum, you should fence around the ones we can fence around them. This is part that makes the contractor mad because he loses work area that he needs. But if you're really going to save them trees, you should fence around them and maybe do some mulching. Mulching helps keep them from drying out, keeps moisture in there, compost down, kind of feeds the root system a little bit. So there's things you can do. There's articles online you can probably find that give you some good tips. I mean, everybody goes to Google anymore anyway. Before they call us, and then we got to correct Google.
What, you mean Google isn't always right?
It is when I look, but
I thought Facebook was the source for all information.
Oh, that's a dangerous place to live. So but if you really want to save some trees when you buy a lot like that, you should call us and we can come out and help. And I mean, we're easy to work with. Just some contractors, it slows them down. They're losing money. So it's your property. You're the boss.
Yeah, I would say most of the ones that I've dealt with, they want to do the right thing by the customer, and they'll do their best to be accommodating. And you don't want to save that junk tree either, if it's going to be something that you're going to hate later that's going to drop hedge balls right up next to your house. Right,
and you spend extra money because the contractor starts figuring in the pricing. So
yeah,
when you get that lot and you want us to come look at it, we'll come look at it. One of the guys will come out and do a walkthrough and see what you got.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people do some pretty cute little design thingies or decorative things with the hedge balls, but those things are dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want a hedge tree in my backyard. Brand new house with a dirty old tree, but
yeah. So
it depends on where it is. Location again. Location's everything.
Hey, that plays into my world too. Location.
So the proper tree, the proper placement.
Absolutely.
Again, on that property that you just bought, we can bring that mulching head in. It's a smaller machine, so it's not a great big machine. It's not going to compact a bunch, so we can get in there and mulch around the trees you want to save and then turn the lot over to the contractor. It's a good way to start the lot. It opens the lot up for you and figure out what you got.
All right. And how do they get a hold of you again?
785-379-9212, brownstreeservicelc.com. You can even just straight email brownstreeservicelc.
Nope. Brown's Tree Service at
sbcglobal.net.
Brown's Tree Service at sbcglobal.net. If you're looking to buy or sell, be sure and give me a call. My number is 785-213-5188. I have got a ton of investment properties. We have some really nice homes that we'd love to sell you, and I still have a vineyard. So the really cool thing about this vineyard is they are willing to train you for the first year. We really thought we had a buyer as a group of guys, but they decided that it wasn't what they wanted. But it sounded like such a great opportunity for several people to go in together and work it together. So if you are open to that and want to have your own winery, it's definitely a great place. I do believe it was probably about a year ago, the girls up at the bank in Ozaki and Oskaloosa told me that they'd put a hit out on me if I sold it to another car dealer. So please, someone that wants to have wine, a wine business, be sure and give me a call, 785-213-5188. If you have any questions, if you're a first-time home buyer, first-time seller, or it's just been a while, we go through a very in-depth process to explain what you're getting into, answer all your questions, really go through it to where whenever you're buying or selling, you know what to expect. So again, give us a call, 785-213-5188, or email letstalk@preferredadvisorsteam.com. Thanks for listening to Real Estate 101.
Thank you for listening to Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Preferred Advisors.